Hey everybody, it's Doug here. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to our continued October playthrough series of scary and spooky games, getting us in the mood for Halloween. And we've been doing a bunch of them. Between Dave and myself, we've done several. Dave's doing a pretty beefy series right now of A Touch of Evil. I have done Lobotomy, which I have to complete. I have also done Masters of the Night, which you saw. Dave has done Horrified, American Monsters, Castle Ravenloft, and again, now he's doing the other one with A Touch of Evil. And we're going to continue. That's not the end of it. But I wanted to revisit this hidden gem of a game and make sure you're all aware of it. If you like storytelling games, if you like games that are seasonal to Halloween and that you want to play those and get them to the table, this is a great one. It has a lot of similarities to A Touch of Evil in the sense that you're moving around a board and visiting locations and drawing cards and you're going against a killer. The difference is that this is a modern theme and has some more tactics to it, or different tactics rather, not necessarily more. But we're going to be playing a really neat game today against the Slasher. Now the Slasher is one of the basic villains from the game. There are a bunch of villains. There's the Cannibal Rednecks. There's Jack the Ripper, there's the Zombie Horde, the Body Snatchers, the Serial Killer, you name it. There's all kinds, and they all act differently, and they all have their very own deck of cards to play, which is very cool. Now, I've already done a playthrough of this, so if you want to go see the rules, how the rules work, and they do work a little differently for every villain, then you can go back and watch that, because we're just going to dive in the game. I didn't even explain the setup, but I'm not going to. But we are going to be playing the base game of Slaughterville. Now, two things. Slaughterville 2 is out and available. I do have it, but I'm going back to the base game for this playthrough, because I like it. And then Slaughterville, the Director's Cut, was on Kickstarter recently. I've Kickstarted that, but I have not received it. So we're going to be playing the base game against the Slasher. Now, to do that, I randomly drew from the female characters in the game. We're going to have an all-female crew to mimic and mirror a little bit of what Dave's doing with A Touch of Evil, with the awesome female heroines from there. But in this one, we're going to say that 3 final girls who have had previous experience with this have come together to the town of Slaughterville to get away from it all and recover from the horrible events that have happened in their lives. And to do that, we're going to have Megan. She's the hottie. You can probably see why I named her Megan. Not necessarily one of the final girls by name, but I just couldn't pass that up. And then we have the final girl herself, Laurie. And if you can, put down in the notes or write back and tell me who you know Laurie to be as far as a final girl is concerned. And then we have Sydney, the librarian. She is also one of the 3 final girls that's going to be coming to Slaughterville to see if we can take on the Slasher. So we're going to be playing a 3-player game. It is fully cooperative. It is a game for 1 to 6 players and is designed by Christopher Brown. Now, one of the things I want to say about this, I have never played it for more than 4 players, so I don't know if I can recommend it for 5 or 6, to be honest, because I've never played it with more than 4. I think that these types of games, most games actually, that say they play 5 or 6, unless they're party games, I usually don't play them at 5 or 6. I play them at 1 to 4, 2 to 4, whatever the game is. This one works really well solo. Works just as well solo as it does with 2 or 3 players. And we're going to dive right in. So we have our final girls. We're going to go up against the Slasher. The Slasher is going to try and take us down. The Slasher is particularly hard because the Slasher can heal a lot and recover a lot of health. The health of the Slasher is this deck of cards. And as the Slasher is drawing and going through its deck of cards, I think that this Slasher is actually female. And I'll say why, because of this. Now, there's a lot of story you could put behind that, and if you'd like to, please do tell me the story of the Slasher and why these 3 final girls have come to take on the Slasher in the town of Slaughterville. Now, maybe the town actually isn't named Slaughterville, but we'll see. Now, another cool thing about Slaughterville is that you have a bunch of locations, and there's only 6 out on the board, but as you can see, there's a bunch of others. There's the prison, the asylum, the farm, the cemetery. The church, we don't have those in the game. The swamp, we do not have those in the game. There are also a bunch of villains that you can play in this game. There's the Beast Within. There's the Cannibal Rednecks, which I love. They're great. The Serial Killer. The Headless Horseman. The Walker's Carnival and the Dream Demon. There's also the Zombie... Did I say the Zombie Horde? I don't remember. And the Body Snatchers. There's a whole bunch. So a lot of variety in the game. And each one of these locations and each one of these villains has a deck. And the decks are different, especially for the villains. So that's one of the cool things about the game. And also we have a bunch of stats right here. That obviously this is health. That's their combat ability. That's their agility. I think that's, I can never remember the names of the stats. I always have to relook it up because it's not necessarily obvious. Nerve, that's nerve. See, I would have thought intelligence, but nerve, and then perception. And those are, and of course they have a special skill. We'll deal with that as we play. I think we should just dive right in and have a heck of a lot of fun with it. So we got our final girls, each one of their tokens. Now I did red, yellow, or green, yellow, red because of a stoplight. It could remember 1, 2, 3, right? That's why I did that. One of the things I hope they do in the director's cut is give some like way to put a color to the player so that you can remember what their token is. Anyway, they're going to go right to the entrance of Slaughterville as they come to the town to see what's going on and what's happening to the poor town again. Our 3 final girls are ready to go, so let's get started. So in Slaughterville, basically you get 2 actions. You can move and explore a location. There's a number of things you can do. It says quite conveniently on the back of the instructions. You can move, you can trade, you can encounter. Those are basically the 3 things that you can do on your turn, and you have 2 actions to do that in. And so I think we're going to start by trying to gather some things. Gathering things is a great thing to do. So Megan comes to town. She realized she left some of her personal hygiene stuff somewhere, so she's going to go to the general store and see if she can pick some things up. This is her token, and here is the general store. Now I did give these a shuffle, but I'm going to give it one more quick just shuffle to get it as randomized as possible, and we're going to go there. So for her first action, she explored it. Now while we're at the general store, I'll talk about this. It says if a player is at the general store during his or her turn, he or she may detach 3 items in order to attach any item from the general store discard pile. Of course, we don't have any items in the general store discard pile, so that doesn't help us. We are going to draw a card. What do we get? Oh, we get the store clerk. Now, store clerk is an ally. This is actually good that we got one with this character because the slasher goes after allies and that. So attach the store clerk, and we're going to gain +1 nerve. That's good because, well, her nerve is really strong. She's got a 3, so Megan wandered into the general store where the clerk there was dumbstruck by her profound beauty and capable nerve and willpower, and has decided to join her on her mission to free Slaughterville from a terrible killer that is taking people in the night. And turn 1 for Megan. It's that simple. So now we're going to go on to Laurie, the yellow player, and she's going to go next. And I think Laurie is going to join Megan at the general store. Being the final girl, we definitely want to make sure she gets stuff, right? So let's go back to the general store and see if we can draw some other stuff. Okay, let's see what we draw. And we're going to get surrounded by... Oh, this is not good. Surrounded by the undead. We're surrounded by the undead in the general store. We're trying to find a slasher. Okay, it's an event. It also says ally. In the parking lot is a car surrounded by the undead. You see a person inside trying to escape. Can you save this person? I don't know. Really, this is not thematic. But okay, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. We're fighting a slasher, but for some reason, there's zombies in the parking lot. The zombies have a combat of 4. If you succeed, attach the surrounded by the undead to gain +1 nerve again. Okay, if you fail, the person is devoured, remove surrounded by the undead from the game. So let's go take a look at that with Laurie, our final girl. And combat is quite simple. So the zombies have a 4. They're going to be the black dice right there. And unfortunately, we're pretty early in the game. So Laurie only has 2. You can see her combat right there. It does say combat, right? If you succeed, yeah, we're going to have to fight them. We have to succeed in 1 round. So, yeah, we're going to have to beat them down. Don't think we're going to do that. But it says still alive, automatically succeed when making an attribute check. If it was a combat check, the enemy is considered defeated, but no clue is gained. Well, this is actually really good because we haven't any enemy to defeat, so we're probably going to get to use that ability. Unfortunately, to activate these abilities, unless they're talent, we have to have clues to be able to spend to activate them. It's their source of power. So we just have to roll and see if we get lucky. We could die, even. No, not with 4 dice, but could be bad. Well, look at that. That wasn't so bad. A 5 and 6 is a success, so we actually completely neutralized one another. That means that we did not win or lose. There was no damage taken, but it says if I succeed, so I wouldn't call that a success, but let me think, do I get to go again, or does this automatically, did they devour the person in the car because we pushed each other around? So I guess this card plays out like any other type of card where we didn't win or lose, so we can choose to escape this and just let this person die, or I think we can try again, and I think that's what we're going to do until we lose. Now, we lose as soon as we take damage from my understanding on this. So, and we did lose that one. We did bounce back one. We took 1 point of damage, and I do have damage tokens right here. So we're going to take a point of damage, and we did not succeed in getting the surrounded by undead person out of the car. So our first casualty is in the books, but not to the slasher, which is good. And then last but not least, we have Sydney, and I think that Sydney, being a librarian, she's going to take a slightly different tactic and not go to the general store. She is going to choose to go to the antique store. Now, one thing you note is there's this track here. This track really doesn't come into play for the slasher. That's not really an issue. Now, you notice that I'm playing all three of the characters' turns first. That is what you do, and then you move on to the villain's turn. And trust me, it's hard enough. The game can be pretty challenging. Again, first time drawing from this deck, so even though I did shuffle it, we'll give another quick shuffle. And we'll see what we get from the antique store. Chinese finger cuffs. It's an event. Let me make sure it's in camera for you. You remember these from your childhood. Roll 1d6. On a 1 to 4, you put them on. Pain fills both trapped fingers. Something is wrong. Can you take them off? Make a perception check. A 2 perception check. If you succeed, discard the Chinese finger cuffs. If you fail, the blades inside shred your fingers. Take 1d3 damage. On a 5 or 6, Chinese fingers cuffs. Another pass. Wow. Pass them to another player who must roll for this event. So basically, until we roll a 1 to 4 and somebody gets out of it, we're going to keep doing this. So here we are with Sydney. She's got the Chinese finger cuffs. Now, I just make a correction. That's an A, not a 2. It says make a perception check. So she just needs to succeed once with this. She has a 3 perception, which is good. And her quick study ability would be great if we had some clues, but we don't. And we got 2 successes against that. So we defeated the Chinese finger cuffs. But that marks the end of her turn. And you know what that means, y'all? You know what that means? It's time for our slasher to take a turn. You see that the slasher has a pawn as well. And just so you know, it says, you must survive and find a way to send the slasher back to the bottom of the lake once and for all. Well, you kind of give you an idea who that character is, right? And it says, while at the cabin, players may detach clues to engage in a single fight round against the slasher. So we're going to try and do damage to the slasher. The slasher has 6 combat though, so we need to beef up before we start trying to take the slasher on, right? And right now, none of us, they're all 2 combat, so nobody's really particularly good. But anyway, once again, I did shuffle this, but we're going to give it one more shuffle before our villain takes her turn. And we're going to say that it is a she because she's wearing like these cool stockings, just some undead-looking woman that has come out of the lake to kill people. Maybe has a grudge against one of the final girl's family members. Help me tell the story, y'all. When you get into, post some comments on that. Let's tell this story. All right, let's draw the slasher card and see what happens. Relentless Pursuit, Villain Event. Move the slasher to a random player location. The slasher engages in a single combat round against that player. Well, we're not going to have a choice, right? So let's see. We got Sydney by herself at the antique store, and then at the general store we have Megan and Laurie. So we're going to roll a die, I think, real quick and see what we get. On a 1 to 2, it will be our librarian, who's over here in the antique store. On a 3 to 4, it'll be Megan. On a 5 to 6, it'll be Laurie. It is going to be Laurie, so it's going after the final girl herself. Now, there are 2 players there. I got to remind myself of what you can do with 2 players. It's been a while since I've played, so if there are multiple players in that space, I think it's going to randomly pick a person, though, right, against that player. So it is going to be that we are going to fight Laurie. Laurie already has a wound from trying to help the person, the zombies, out of the car, and then the slasher herself comes and tries to attack her at the hardware store. I mean, that is crazy. It's already off to a crazy start. So here's the sad part. There's Laurie's dice. Here come the villain's dice. We're probably going to lose this. We could take a lot of damage, even die right off the bat. I hope we don't. We don't have any way to defend ourselves otherwise. Wow, we did not die, but we did take 2 more damage, and then the slasher runs off to do bad things elsewhere. So those 2 6s count as 2 damage. Laurie is up to 3 of her 8. So that is not fantastic. At least she's tough, you know, just like in the show that she was in. She's a pretty tough character. But so then the villain runs off and goes off to somewhere else. So Laurie was in the back of the general store looking for some useful items, which she was unable to find after coming back from the parking lot. And as she was coming back into the store from the parking lot, the slasher leapt out from the crazy horde of zombies and attacked her. That's what happened. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And then the next thing that's going to happen is the first player marker will move to Laurie. So Laurie is our yellow player, and so we're going to take her next action. The villain does not stay there. In this case, this villain goes back home after doing the attack. So I think what we're going to do there is we're going to leave Laurie there. So for her first action, she's actually going to draw from the general store deck again. It's usually good. I don't know. We're not having great luck yet. Housewares clerk, event ally, a man fighting possessed shoppers. See, the slasher really knew we were going to go to the store and cause some craziness. With a shotgun and a chainsaw, you decide to help him. The possessed shoppers are 4. If you defeat the possessed shoppers, attach Housewares clerk to gain +2 combat. Oh man, we need this. If you do not defeat the possessed shoppers, the man falls to the shoppers. Remove the Housewares clerk. Man, this is the second time we've had to fight off with Laurie, who's already damaged a bunch of creatures. Y'all, let's be real. That's part of the fun of these types of games. We're weaving a crazy story. We're not doing very well with it right now. Now, the heroes can always go back, and what she'll probably do on her second event is to go back to the entrance where she can heal. Yeah, if she needs to, and she does. And the Housewares clerk is dead because they got 2, we got none. So now we're at 5 wounds. Man, Laurie, come on now. You can take the hits, but you got to be able to dish them out. So now we've lost the person in the car and the hardware clerk. I think we need to get out of the general store, right? So that was her first action. For her second action, she is going to do exactly what I said. Laurie is going to come from the general store, and she is going to move back to the entrance of Slaughterville, where on her turn she can take an action to heal. I believe it's an action, right? Let me look at just to make sure. Yeah, she can heal 1d3 wounds there. And she needs to because she's now close to death. We don't want that. So next up is going to be our librarian. She had a little bit of a negative encounter at the antique store. I'm not ready to give up on the antique store yet. So let's see. If a player is at the antique store during her turn, he or she may detach an item to shuffle the antique store discard pile back in. That's okay. We don't really want that in there again, do we? Let's draw and see what we get. A Nazi coin. This can't be good. It says ghost item. An old coin sits in a case. You ask to see it. As the shopkeeper places it on the counter, he backs away quickly. You pick up the coin and a voice screams at you in German. A rush of air shoves you away from the counter, and an officer of the German army stands before you, ready to fight. German ghost soldier, a combat of 3. If you defeat the Nazi German soldier, ghost, that's a mouthful, the German soldier ghost, attach the Nazi coin to gain +1 perception. The Nazi coin does not count as an equipped item, and that's pretty good. Laurie's in there. She's talking to the antique dealer going, you know, I have cash. Can't I just buy something? Do I have to fight ghosts all the time? Because I only have a 2 combat. But the Nazi coin, it has 3. Hopefully we don't roll like that. Hopefully this is not signs to come, but that would be good. Remember, we have to defeat it, which means we have to do 1 more than it does. Let's see if we can pull it off. Well, we bounced on the first one, 6 and 6, so I can choose to flee at this point or continue to fight. Might as well continue to fight. Otherwise, it's just going to go into the discard pile anyway. Oh, and by the way, I think these 2 ones, just to remember. Oh, look, I won! Oh my gosh! We beat it! We actually beat it and got the Nazi coin. I think these, if I recall, it says remove this from... These guys are no longer in the game, actually. So, I'm glad I remembered that. The 2 people from the general store are no longer in the game. They are kaput. Can't get them anymore. But we did get the Nazi coin. That means we're going to have a +1 to our perception. I'm going to put that right under here, under her card. That is amazing. Now our perception is a 4. We got tons of perception. We need items to fight with, right? And then last but not least, we're going to go back to Megan, she is in the general store. And again, she's like pulling out her wallet. She's going, what the heck? I just want to buy some stuff. Where are all these creatures coming from attacking us? I can't even buy anything. Let's roll. See what she gets here. Clean up on aisle 3. More undead. This place is full of undead. The place is empty. You swear that people were just near you. Roll a d6. On a 1 to 2, a torrent of blood floods the aisle. Make a... well, this is good because she has a pretty good nerve. It's 4 right now with the clerk that she's dragging around with her. If you fail, you panic. We'll get into that, what that is. If it happens, 1 to 4, you hear scraping nails on the floor, but then you have to fight a zombie. Or a 5 to 6, jars fall off the shelves and shatter. The contents form strange symbols. Make a perception check. If you succeed, you gain a clue. Ooh, we could use that. Okay, Megan, let's make this happen. We're going to roll a d6. I'm going to get one of the lucky ones that we've had some success with. A 6! Nice! Oh, that's great. Okay, so we don't have... The jars fall off, right? Now we have to make a perception success. Well, okay. I don't have any way to enhance it, so let's just a 3. So she failed, did not make the perception check. This will then go into the discard pile at the general store. Sadly, that puts us back around to the slasher. This is one of the things I'll tell you about the challenge of this game is getting stuff early on. It's very hard to do. And we are starting to build up our characters a bit, but obviously we need some combat items, right? We need some things to be able to fight things. And with Megan only having a 1 perception, she's too busy looking in the mirror to deal with that. But she's got a lot of nerve, and she's tough with 9 health. So there is some advantages to her. Her perception is not one of them. Okay, let's draw the next card. She's out there. Uh-oh. All players must make 2 nerve checks. If any player fails the check, he or she panics. Any player that ends up at the cabin must engage in a single round against the slasher. Okay, I think it's time to talk about panic. Okay, at times when a player fails a check, that player may have to panic. To panic, the player rolls 1d6 for a random location and then moves to that location. In addition to moving, the player must also roll 1d3 and discard that many items, clues, or allies in any combination. If the player cannot meet this requirement, the remainder of the rolls is taken as damage. So we're going to have to roll. Now, good thing is the only person that has an actual item is Megan. So we're going to start, but we're not, well, I guess technically this was the villain's draw, so it doesn't really matter who we start with. We'll start with the first player, which is our final girl, Laurie. Okay, Laurie does have a nerve of 2, so she succeeded in 1, and then she has to succeed at another, and she did. So no effect there for her. She did not panic, even though she knows that the slasher is out there stalking her with some kind of crazy axe. Next up we have Sydney. Sydney has a nerve of 2 as well. She succeeded with the first one and succeeded with the second one, so we're doing quite well there. Megan has it a bit easier. She's got 4 dice, so man, she only got 1 on that. Wow, okay, and we need to make 2 checks. It says 2 checks, yes. And, oh man, she almost failed it both times, but almost is good in this case, so almost failed doesn't mean failed. So that goes away, and actually we all held our ground and stood with our nerve against the slasher. The slasher did not scare us off. The first player marker is going over to Sydney. Sydney, who is at the antique store. I think she's going to take a jaunt somewhere else this time. So Sydney is at the antique store right now. She's going to pop over to the residential neighborhood. And the reason she's doing that is because she wants to go talk to the people there and find out what the heck. I mean, already terrible things have happened. The slasher has attacked her friend, Laurie. They're hearing about zombie hordes and people are dying at the general store. It's just an awful thing. And the slasher is out there stalking us. She tried to scare us and failed. So maybe some of the residents will have some answers for us. Now, Laurie does not have, or sorry, Sydney does not have an ally. So this special event for when you go there with an ally does not come into play. Let's see what she does get though. A medium. Oh, she gets an ally. Even better. You get a knock on your door and open it to find a strange person standing on your steps. So I guess I was staying in this neighborhood. This person announces that they are a medium and have had visions about this town. This person wants to help you in your fight against the villain. Attach the medium and gain +1 perception. So right now, our librarian, this makes a lot of sense. Sydney, our librarian, has a perception of 5. So she's got 1 from defeating the Nazi coin ghost. Yeah. That's what it is. And then she has a 3. She got 1 from that and then 1 from the medium. So she's got the medium following her around. Now she doesn't want to stay there too long. But if we're going to have to deal with this next turn for sure. And since she moved and did that, that is her action. So next up, so Megan's being stubborn. She doesn't want to give up on this general store. I guess, I don't know. She's going to stay there and try again. Now, we could use a special ability to get this, try this again, but I'm not going to bother with that. Let's see what we get. Of course it is. Of course it's a ghost. What else would it be? It can't be like stuff at the store, you know. No way. That's too much. You hear a scream. You head towards the commotion to see a floating sheet. Roll 1d6. Okay. Okay. You'd think after the horde of zombies outside, the zombies and ghosts inside, and the people dying, that no one would want to pull a prank on you. But they have with a character in a sheet. Let's see what we roll. We roll a 4. 4 through 6. You grab the sheet to unmask the prankster. You must. You see that there are no feet under the sheet. Markings cover the inside of the sheet. Make a make a check, a perception check. If we do, we get a clue. She's really bad at this, and she failed again. So this goes into the discard pile. And do we have to get her perception up? She is just not succeeding at that at all. All right, now let's go on to our final girl. She is actually at the entrance of Slaughterville. Okay, so action number 1 for her is going to be roll a d3 up here in the entrance to Slaughterville to heal some of this damage. We roll 2, so she's down to 3 now. She will take that. And then I think she might as well do that again because I think that's the best use of her 2 actions this turn. So 2 more, she's got 1 damage on her. We're okay. That's a lot better, but that wasted her turn completely just there resting outside the town of Slaughterville. Now we're going back to the slasher though, so we're already there. Now the slasher is losing health by drawing these cards, but the slasher has ways to get him back. Improvised weapon. Attach the improvised weapon to the slasher. While the improvised weapon is attached, the slasher gains +1 combat. If another item is already attached or becomes attached later, detach the improvised weapon to deal 1d6 damage to a random player. Okay, so we're going to put this on the board with the slasher. The slasher actually has an improvised weapon now. It looks like a big giant hammer or something. But that's all that happens, so that's not terrible. We're not dealing with her too much yet. It's going to get worse. And then the first player token goes back to our hottie Megan, who is still at the general store. Does she be stubborn and stay there and try and get something worthwhile out of the general store? I mean, she got the clerk, but we need items. You know, when I did her last turn, I only did 1 thing. So I think my fault. I'm just going to... I think I did that with all of them, didn't I? No, except for with Laurie. No, I moved from the antique store to the... So the only one I did that with is her. We're going to say I just blew it and forgot about it. So I missed an action there. Maybe if... I don't know. I think we'll leave it alone. Okay, let's see what we get here. We're going to draw 1 again. Mannequins, of course. Ghost event, of course. It can't be just stuff. Okay. The store is an unusually peaceful place. Not really. You find yourself chasing down a strange scraping sound in the back of the storage area. As you turn into a dimly lit warehouse, you see mannequins making their way towards you. Roll 1d6. Ooh, stand and fight. Oh, let's see what we do here. All right, come on. Let's get this done. A 3, what does that do for us? A 1 through 3 means we stand and fight. The mannequin has a 3 combat. We have a whopping 2 combat, so it's at least relatively even. Doing that backwards, hold on. 2 of ours and 3 of theirs. Okay, here we go. Here's our dice. Let's see what happens with the... Well, we bounced again, so I think we'll stay and fight, because if we can defeat them, maybe something good happens. They just go into the discard pile, right? Yeah, okay. Oh my gosh, I should have ran. So, okay, we're just not having a good start here at all. We take 2 damage, we get nothing out of it, and the zombies win the fight. Now again, in these you don't keep fighting. I mean, if we keep tying, we will, but otherwise they go back. I believe that's the way it works. Anyway, this goes to this discard pile. We are many turns in, and I still have yet to get a clue, but I do know where we can get some, and there seems to be a lot of perception stuff going on. So I think we're going to have to send our final girl, Laurie, back to the general store. We got to clear this place out and get some stuff. Let's see. Oh God, I did it again, y'all. Did it again. Megan gets 2 parts to her turn. So I was about to skip her again. Let's not do that. She'll take another draw here and see what we get. Express lane event. You get trapped working the cash register. If you cannot scan a complete order in time, the register will explode. Okay, this just means we're going to take more damage. Well, at least she saved Laurie from that terrible fate. But we only have a 1. Are you kidding me? A 5. She succeeded, so it goes away. It does not explode. Okay, now we've taken Megan's turn. This might actually work out okay. Where'd Megan's pawn go? Oh, wrong way. Right there. Okay, so we moved Laurie over to there. We moved her once. Now we're going to take her second action to draw this. Skilla the cat, event ally. Okay, well, so Megan has been trying her best to get something good out of the general store. Laurie walks in and go, oh, look at this pretty cat. Here we go. A loud slurping noise is coming from the grocery section of the store. As you round the aisles, you see a medium-sized black cat standing in the now melting frozen food section, feasting on the new defrosted seafood. It looks at you, challenging you. Can you coax the animal come over to you? Make a nerve and a perception test. If you succeed both checks, the cat will slowly and cautiously come towards you. The tag on the collar says Skilla, or Scylla, really like Scylla and Charybdis. Attach Scylla the cat to gain +1. Oh, that's really good. We want to make sure we succeed at this. Okay, so we have to try to attract Scylla. First off, we have to make a nerve check. That's 2 dice. Let's see if we can do that. Oh, she got 2 of them, but that doesn't help us because we still have to make a perception check. Oh, look at that. Wow, great rolls. Okay, we actually succeed at this. So it says, the tag on the collar says Scylla. Attach Scylla, the cat, to gain +1 nerve. That's awesome. And +1 health. If you fail, the animal hisses at you and jumps at your face. Take a D3 damage. But we did not fail. We got the cat. So we're going to put... The cat is actually an ally. So we're going to put it there. Unlike this thing here, the coin. It's an item. But it's right there. Okay. Good. We got the cat there. Awesome. Now we have an ally that makes us a little tougher. But we're not finding weapons. That kind of sucks. Maybe we're in the wrong place for that. Okay. That was both of Laurie's actions. Now we're going to go to Sydney. Where Sydney is still in the residential neighborhood. So now that Sydney has the medium, we have to do this. If the player is at the residential neighborhood at the beginning of his or her turn, the player may choose one ally, must choose one ally, and roll a die. If it's on a d6, if it's a 1, it's bad. If it's a 5 or 6, it's good. A 3, so it's nothing. So no problem there. But she's not going to stay there. We're going to take the medium, and we're going to go investigate the house on the haunted hill because the medium is thinking we need to go there. So Sydney moves to the house on the... Maybe I should be going to the cabin. The villain is... Maybe we should go to the cabin and try and get some things done there. You know what? That would make some more sense. The medium is taking us to the cabin to investigate the home, what we think where the slasher might be hanging out or bringing its victims, right? So let's give this a little shuffle. Because, we're not... Poor Megan has had terrible luck at the general store. She probably needs to move on from there because then she watches Laurie come in and get this cool cat ally friend to help her out. Okay, there we go. We got this. What does this say? A dark tome awaits. Event. The dark book lies in the dust and grime. The language in the book has not been seen in thousands of years. Roll a d6. We'll just surprise ourselves with what that's going to do. Okay, here's our d6. A 6. Is that good or bad? I mean, I don't know if it's good or bad or not. 5 or 6. You begin to speak the unknown words and a portal opens. Move to a random location. Okay, fair enough. We will move to a random location, so we're not going to get to stay at the cabin. Let's just do that. So we got 6 locations, with the antique store being the first one. So we're going to go to number 4. Guess what? That's the cabin. Right back to the cabin. Okay, and that ends her turn there. And unfortunately, that ends all their turns. So hopefully the slasher doesn't go to the cabin. I don't want to have a fight round with the slasher. Maybe I do. I don't know. Not really, because the slasher has 7 combat right now. So we don't really want to fight the slasher. Another improvised weapon. Well, we know what happens here. This goes in the discard pile, and the other improvised weapon is kept. Now, you saw me shuffle this. I'm going to give it another shuffle just to be sure. I did shuffle it, but the improvised weapons were together. And it says if you get another one, discard and keep that one, but they're the same thing, so I just discarded it. We are slowly weakening the slasher by the fact that it has not healed yet, but that's the only reason. Then the first player marker is going to go back to our final girl, and that is where we're going to end this episode. So, y'all, thanks so much for watching. Thanks for subscribing. I hope you're enjoying this playthrough of Slaughterville. It's always a tough start because you got to gather some equipment to be able to deal with the villain. And we're not having too good a luck at that. I mean, we've each gathered something, mainly allies, but what we really need is weapons. So we got the store clerk with Megan. He's following her around all doe-eyed and just doing whatever she asks. We have Scylla the cat with our final girl, Laurie, which Scylla is actually pretty awesome. And then we have the medium hanging around with our librarian. She also has a haunted Nazi coin that gives her some benefits. So that is all good. And that's where we're going to stop. So, y'all, thanks so much. And I do ask, please like, share, and subscribe. I've been noticing lately that we get a lot of viewers, but only half of the viewers that come into the channel are actually subscribed to the channel. So I would appreciate it. You know, we don't really ask for anything else. You don't have to subscribe. I just would appreciate it. So if you are not subscribed and you get the chance, please do. So thank you so much. I appreciate everything. I appreciate you watching. And please post your comments. Let's tell the story of the slasher here. What is the backstory of the slasher? We know it's a woman. We know she has come out of the lake. We know that she hunts people at the cabin. That's really all we know. Now, the other part of the story is, why did 3 final girls who've already dealt with some sort of evil in their life come together in Slaughterville to take on this slasher? What drew them to the town? And then maybe even a little backstory on some of the locations, like why is the house on the hill haunted? What the heck's up with the general store and all the undead and zombies? It's crazy time. They only seem to bother Megan, though. And why can't we just buy stuff? I mean, you know, that'd be nice. And why as soon as we went to the residential neighborhood to stay at our Airbnb, did a medium show up and say, hey, I want to help you? A lot of storytelling to be had here. Help me flesh it out in the comment section. And I really appreciate it if you do. So take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.